Hey, fantasy football managers. It's Jacob Camenker from USA Today Sports to help you break down the Week 12 waiver wire. Obviously, we're dealing with a lot of injuries across the NFL. We've had quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Michael Penix Jr. go down, and some key running backs, too, have gotten banged up. So we'll be looking for replacements for the running backs. Quarterback's looking pretty barren, though, so you might have to settle for adding flex players at spots that you need help at. But here, we're going to start with a running back from the Green Bay Packers. That's going to be Emanuel Wilson. Wilson racked up 40 yards and a touchdown on 11 carries for the Packers after Josh Jacobs went down with a knee injury against the Giants. Now, Jacobs' injury isn't expected to be serious. There doesn't appear to be structural damage in his knee, but he still is listed as week to week, which means he could miss time. If that happens, Wilson's going to end up being a workhorse for the team because no other running back on the Packers this season, aside from Jacobs and Wilson, has more than 3 carries. So feel free to trust Wilson as a top waiver wire pickup this week. You can also do the same with Kenneth Gainwell of the Steelers, especially if Jalen Warren misses time with an ankle injury he suffered against the Bengals. Gainwell is already involved in the passing game with the Steelers. He's their top pass catching back, and he had a huge game against the Bengals through the air, making 7 catches, 81 receiving yards, and having 2 touchdowns. So he's already going to be a decent PPR option as a flex play every week anyway. But if he handles more of a workload between the tackles, if Jalen Warren is either out or limited, that's going to just raise his floor and in turn his ceiling. So feel free to grab him as a potential option to help out your lineups. The same can be said of Chris Rodriguez Jr. from the Commanders. He appears to have established himself as the Washington backfield leader. He's been more efficient than Jeremy McNichols and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt there, and he was really good against the Dolphins, totaling 79 yards on 15 carries. The big plus with Rodriguez, too, is that he has a 5'11", 224-pound frame, which makes him the go-to guy on the goal line for potential touchdowns. So his touchdown upside is going to make him a solid flex play, so feel free to grab him on waivers. Now, turning our attention to receiver, a guy you're going to want to look at this week is Emanuel Wilson from the Arizona Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr. missed this past week of action, which allowed Wilson to be the team's #1 receiver. Jacoby Brissett had to throw 57 times against the 49ers. That's not likely to happen often, but what will likely continue is him looking Wilson's way, because Wilson was targeted 18 times and caught 15 passes for 185 yards. So he proved he can be efficient as a volume-based option for the Cardinals. So even if Marvin Harrison Jr. comes back, he'll still be a reliable #2 receiver in that offense. And finally, if you want to take a flyer on a guy who's proven to do well in the past but hasn't had the best year, Darnell Mooney on the Falcons might be worth adding. He has just 16 catches this year, but Michael Penix Jr. is going to be out for the rest of the season, it sounds like. That's going to put Kirk Cousins back in the lineup, and Mooney last season in 14 games with Cousins averaged 4.1 catches and 62.4 yards per game. Those aren't earth-shattering numbers, but they're enough to make him a boomer-bust PPR flex. And hey, it's also worth noting that Drake London is dealing with a knee injury that might keep him out in Week 12. So that could allow Mooney to operate as the #1 receiver against the Saints, which would make him a must-start in fantasy.